Okay, my outstanding friends, as you know, I've been saying for many years now, getting blood out of a rock is no problem whatsoever. Now this is what would be considered a rock, however it is a bone. It's the head of a bone. And that is a bone foramen. A foramen means a little cavity in the side of a bone or somewhere in the bone that allows the blood vessels, nerves, and so forth to pass through. Now this is a blood vessel. Vein and artery are right underneath here. Now up here in the microscope, whoops, I just knocked it out of the way. Here we go. You see that in the microscope? You see that? We're going to be looking at that in some detail, but that right there is exactly what this is. Now, you see the red and you see the black and you see those two holes and the white stuff here? See that white? That's fibrin. These two holes are the vein and the artery. Now, I'm going to show you another picture down here. That was my specimen that is from my bone. Now, I took that bone and moved the scab away from the fibrin. All right, that's a fibrin. It's a clotting fiber that covers the blood, so you can get a scab, and then the scab comes off, and you're all healed up. Now, once you take everything off, you get down to what we had up in the other picture up above. You get down to this. All right, which is it is exactly like that scab. I mean the fibrin up above. And then you have your vein and your artery. And I know this is the vein because it's a black tube. You see, that's where the vein moved from one bone to another bone. And this is the red tube that ran up. So there's no question what that is. I mean, it's just impossible not to understand that. And this right here is now at a point where it's basically identical to that right there. Now, it is what it is, and what we're looking at there is from something here that is a fractured piece of a bone. All right, you see it curves around here. It's bigger than this. It's bigger than this around that bone would be, and I can show you, and then I will show you the anatomical proof. Could you see what I was showing? That thing there is 2.5 feet or over 2 feet across diameter. So it's going to be something like this. That's a pretty good sized bone. It's not outside of the realm of possibilities at all from the things that I found on my own property that have been DNA tested. One of them is a giant human being, and the size of the thing, I'll show you the fingertip, is 3 feet long. So what we have to do is calculate a 3 foot long fingertip compared to this bone over here. How big that bone would be if it was total. I'll show you in a little more detail. And then, but what we're looking at right in that bone is that right there. It's a bone foramen. Same thing as you had in this one right here, which is my bone foramen from my specimen. And originally the one up above would have had blood in it just like mine did. All right, so this is what it is. These foramens allow passage of nerves, arteries, veins, or other soft tissue structures to pass from one body compartment to another. In this case, it's through this bone. Okay, it appears to me that this is the arterial side with the red blood, and that is the vein side. And of course, that's the scab, the clotting fiber. Now, I'm going to put some catalase, some hydrogen peroxide in here and see if we get a catalase reaction. Now, this is going to be kind of hard to get it down in there, I think, because I'm trying to weasel it under here. Now, if it's got catalase in there, we should see a lot of bubbles coming up from these areas here. All right, we got to give it a little time to settle in. And right around the edges, you should normally see a nice fuzzy reaction. You see it? This is all the red blood reacting right now. The red blood has all the reaction. Well, it has most of the reactions. That's where all the extra oxygen accumulates. You see it all bubbling up now? I can't get any closer to it than that. But that's what it's doing. That's starting to bubble a little bit. See a big bubble come out of there? So there's definitely still catalase in here. Catalase is the enzyme that eats up extra oxygen. And what I just did was put in extra oxygen. H2O2 adds an extra oxygen. So if I could get right down on top of that, you'd really see it bubbling. But I really can't get, I don't think, any closer than that. Well, a little bit closer. Well, you can see it's bubbling off. See the bubbles coming out of there? The bubbles. If I was right down on top of there, you'd see it would be like boiling, tiny, tiny, tiny little bubbles. And you see this around here? That's the membrane. That's where you get the really fuzzy looking. Let me see if I can back out and get a good shot of that. You see right there? That's the membrane all the way around here. See it over here? Same thing. They get real fuzzy looking because that's the protection of that tube. So anyway, there's no question that is biological, and that is the artery side, the red, and the black is the vein side. And that's just what it is. All right, that is the curve of that fractured bone, and it would be approximately that size, which is approximately 26 inches in diameter. All right, so that's a pretty good sized bone. All right, look at this now. This is that bone that I showed you the foramen. Now, you should be able to see that curve, which is a very slow, gentle curve, and I either showed you or will show you that I put it on the floor and put a cord wrapped all the way around what it would look like if it was completely surrounded by, one big bone. And it's all fractured up now, but that was a bone. And I show it to you in the microscope, or I have. And when you get into this closer towards the center of the bone, you get into marrow and stuff. On the outside, it's just more or less calcium. There's a lot of these little pock markers in there, and that's what happens in bone. That's what just bone is like. And that's a good sized bone. Don't forget, that's the curve. All right, so, and then of course, this one here is much bigger, this hair follicle. We're going to put this in a microscope. I haven't really looked at much in a microscope. We'll see some of the fine details here. But anyway, that's the hair follicle. That's the erector pili muscle. That's the sebaceous gland, which has drooped down here. It would have been way up here, and it's all slurped down to here. You see it? And there's the hair shaft, and there's the root ball, and those two little dots there are the vein and artery at the bottom. And that's 1,000 times bigger than one of ours. Now, I don't know what kind of creature it was from, but it doesn't matter. It's still extremely large. And so is that bone. That's pretty good size. The way I figured it out, it's about 27 inches across. So that's the diameter, 27. You multiply that basically times 3, and you have the circumference. So that's pretty good size. Very good size. Okay, now we're down in to where the marrow is inside the bone. This bone right here. Now what you're looking at is that would be an arterial area where it had the red blood. Red blood runs right out. It's very fluid. The black is different. The black coagulates right there. You see that? That's where the vein was. The black, and that's really like little black blobs of blood. But the arteries sometimes completely evacuate. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of times they do. And in this case, it is evacuated. Now, so we're somewhere down around where this black stuff is. All right, that's the marrow down in here, the black stuff. Now, when you get towards the outside edges, now I'm going to go towards where the calcium is. Now we're out where the calcium basically starts. All right, and we move over here. And this is more structural, all the way out. This whole area is very structural. Let me move this up a little bit. Stick with me. Gotta turn the lights up. All right. So we were down in here where the marrow is. All right, we were down looking in here where the marrow is. Now we're going over to where the calcium is, all the way out. Whatever that is, I don't know. These little black spots, it's something to do with veins. Anytime you see black, it's got to do with vein. And we're just in the bone here. And then we get right out to the edge of the bone, which is right out here. You see it? And then we're off the outside of this is the curve of the bone. Hold on, let me see if I can get a little better shot there. All right, so here we are out at the edge of the bone. Now we're going to go inside through that layer, which is like almost like a layer of fascia. All right, it's like collagens. Then you start getting into the bony bone, which is here. And that's just bony bone. And now you're getting towards the center, and then it steps off here somewhere down right here into your marrow. And then it starts to go into the marrow, which is a different blacky, bloody substance. All right, so that's what we're looking at, all the way out from the edge of the bone, way out there where you have your skinish, that's the fascia. They used to call it tunica in ancient days, and then you come into your, where you're starting into your bone. Anyway, I showed it. You've seen it. All right, now here's the cool thing. This is a fingertip. It's 3 feet long, front to back. It's still got the fingernail on it, and the fingerprints as well. That little pad right there goes to the next bone, and it's just the tip of a finger, just a very tip. All right, and that little pad is the thing that rocks to the next bone so it doesn't destroy the bones to bone to bone. I broke this piece off right on the edge of the fingernail. Bam, I hit it with a pretty good sized hammer, and it popped right off like a scab. And it is the skin, and it has the fingerprints on it. Now, this bone, as you can see, that's the curve of the bone. This baby is very, very large. And I don't think anybody can deny that it's a bone. What I just showed you is it's a bone. There's no question about that. Now, is it to this guy? Because that's been DNA tested. And here's what the rest of that looks like. Right here. Here's the grip skin. All right, grip skin is these with sweat pores and all that. You see it, sweat pores, and the skin ridges. My thumb is the same width as one of the fingerprint ridges that are in your fingerprints. And it peeled right off just like that. When I whacked it, it just popped right off. And it was almost like it was just like glued. Almost, it just popped right off. It was like a Slurpee underneath there that just laid on there. So it was almost like hollow. When I popped it, it just popped right off. And that's it right there. And of course, there's the fingerprints. So here they are in one shot. Here's the fingerprints that came right off at the top of the fingertip. So this is not silly. This is all real, and these are blood. This is blood, and this is the collagen, the fibrin that is the clotting fiber. It's none of this can possibly be disputed. If somebody wants to dispute it, dispute it. Let's talk about it. And as I showed you, they get much bigger. Let's take a quick look at this in a microscope, see if I can find anything interesting. All right, these are hairs coming out of a regular skin, and they're normal hairs, and this is a normal hair, and that's what it looks like under the skin. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I got the hair follicle right there in a microscope. Here's what it looks like, a normal hair, a hair coming up the root, you know, the shaft. Now, this is the one right up here in the microscope. All right, now this is a flat-sided hair. It's a curly, people tell me it's a curly-haired person. That's what I've been told. If there's a flat side, and it definitely has a flat side. Now, I'm going to sort of jiggle this around, see if we can get a better close-up look at it. But you can see, hold on, I got to find my pointer. It's around here somewhere. Oh no, I lost my pointer. Hold on a second. Wow, I almost got a panic attack. I thought I lost my pointer. All right, now, so what are we looking at? There's the actual hair, and they have this is exactly what it looks like. If you look at the microscope shots, they slice it this way and they look down, you have a core, and then you have that surrounding bit. This is all tissue that surrounds, as I showed you in the one below, if you go back and you can see it. Now, this has a little flat side that creates a flat side on the hair, and they claim that makes a curly-haired person. Now, this is all basically the skin that surrounds the hair shaft, and there it is right there. It's basically the same thing, only we're way up at the top. We're a little below. This one here is a little below the surface, basically. All right, so there's the shaft coming up. All right, this is probably the best way to show you. This right here is where the erector pili muscle attaches. Now, you know we had the top right here, which is the hair shaft. And then that is where the pili erector muscle attaches right there. There's a core, and it locks right in there. And that pulls back and forth. It's a muscle. Muscles pull in and out. Now, so that's that. Now, on the other side is the sebaceous gland. So let's just rotate it around to the other side, which is right here. All right, let me focus in a little better. This little globby stuff here is the sebaceous gland. You see it? This stuff here. And it goes all the way up the shaft. You see, this is all the same gooey sebaceous stuff, all the way up to the shaft. You see it? And what it did is it oiled up the shaft. That's what it oils it up as it comes up. That's what the sebaceous gland does. All right, so that's that, the muscle and the sebaceous gland. This right down here is where the hair shaft comes up and goes around. Now, right at the bottom here, these two little balls here. Are the vein and the artery at the bottom. All right, now, let's take a look at the anatomical, and I'll show you all the things that I just showed you. And I'm sure we should be able to get a catalase test where these membranes meet. I would think. I'm going to put a little water on it and we'll take a look at it. But that's it's pretty obvious what it is. It's a hair follicle, and it is quite large compared to what ours are. There's a little sebaceous gland, gooey stuff for you. Okay, you can only show so much until it's shown, and people either look or they don't look. And again, the sebaceous gland is over here. Have all the slurpy coming all the way up. The hair shaft, pili erector muscle. Those two are the artery and the vein at the bottom. And there it is right there. I see no reason to go any further with this. I've shown you giants that are giants. I think I showed you mine, I'm pretty sure. Well, I know I did. I showed you that blood comes out of the rocks. Very simple. And there can be gigantic creatures. This is just one of them. And obviously this is much bigger. This would be much, much bigger than that. Whatever creature this came from. This would be a mile tall if it was a human. It's 1,000 times bigger than us. All right, and then I got all this other stuff. And if people want to call me crazy, I was just going through some of my old records, and this popped up. This was from when I was in the Army. All right, I was a Spec 5, and I got that rank very quickly. It was only like 9 months I was in. I was a Spec 5. They didn't like that. Most of the top guys were very upset. They used to call us instant NCOs, and what happened is during Vietnam, it was they needed guys who could do all kinds of special things. So, if you could do them, they gave you rank real quick, and they treated you pretty good. All right, people that call me an idiot, this popped up today. Was digging through some old stuff. This is when I just got out of the Army, Spec 5, and my GT score was 139. GT is what is basically your IQ. And down here it says the Army General Classification Test has a long history that runs parallel with research means for attempting the assessment of intelligence or other abilities. A composite score derived from elements of this Army test is called the General Technical, abbreviated GT. And if you scored 136 or higher before 1980, Mensa will accept the results as proof of being in the 98th percentile. I had a 139. So all you had to have was a 136 and you're in the 98th percentile. So 139 puts me over 100%. All right, so we got giants, we got dragons, and guess what the next one's going to be about? It's fractals. Well, what do fractals mean? It means you see the same patterns in everywhere, like in space. You see these same patterns in space as you see in light. Right? As you see in CERN. Or I guess this is Fermi. Same thing, they smash all these particles. These are the fractals they see, the same fractals that we found in our experiments, which was light, right here. We found all the same fractals, but they're in light, which is the smallest particle that exists. So we're going to be going over fractals. That's all the big thing now, all fractals. Well, what the frack are they? I don't know. We'll find out. I love you all. And remember, keep your mind open. Keep thinking. All right? Thank you. Bye.